Howdy, everyone. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Genuinely didn't know what day of the week it is. I do know it's my wife's birthday, so happy birthday, wifey. That's terribly self-indulgent of me on these videos, but I give you all lots of my time, and sometimes I don't give her enough. So the least I can do is say happy birthday to her. Hence why I arrived here just before kickoff. But that was enough. We all saw the team, and I wouldn't have missed any goals anyway because it finished here goalless at Carrow Road. Oh, my maths. So I'm guessing that is that 1 win in 8? I feel like that is 1 win in 8, but it's 2 games unbeaten. So that's what you'll take of it. A lot of you will have seen this game on telly, so I don't really want to go through all the details. I'll maybe just reflect on it. But for me, Norwich did enough to win it. They had some really good chances. They made a really bright start, and I kind of agreed with Mick Beale, who's QPR head coach. Had a chat with him afterwards that QPR looked a little bit, I suppose, knocked back after their defeat last time out on Friday, and just a bit, nervous was the word he used. That was probably fair. I thought they were a bit disappointing. I've been expecting a little bit from them today because I like what they're doing. And they're one of these clubs where if they get it right, they will get promoted. So on tonight's evidence, given they were players missing and what have you, I think they will be in the mix. I see Norwich as top 6 contenders, being in the top 6 mix. That's their goal that I can see on the quality they've got this season. They are capable of more, but you only have to see Burnley winning in the 100th minute of their game tonight from being behind twice, I think. And you see a club that may well do what they need to. And the interesting thing ahead of this game, looking at the table, and because I said this felt like the first really big game of the season for me, and people were like, well, yeah, but we just played Burnley and Sheffield United. What are you talking about? But for me, it was A, this was at home, and B, you looked at the table and you could just see the elements of the top of the table were slightly getting away from Norwich a little bit, and they've got to watch that. I mean, they've only got 2 games now between now and the World Cup break. One of those is at Rotherham on Saturday, so how they reflect on the end of their game tonight will be quite interesting. I am missing it. I won't be at Rotherham on Saturday, so apologies. I'm having a few days off. Let me know how it goes. So there won't be a video of verdict either. But there will be a podcast on the ball podcast on the Monday. But yeah, that was why I felt that tonight was big. And I suppose in that way, you kind of get the result that both teams would probably have not wanted, but would, I guess, just have to accept, which moves neither on really. But I think it is where both are. And as I've said before, I feel like this is the challenge. Both sides hit the forward work. Both sides had their chances. Norwich had more of them and probably should have won the game on the balance of that. I actually thought this was one of Norwich's better performances of the season. I'm sort of losing the will over the whole complete 90-minute performance because kind of agree with what Angus Gunn said today. Games ebb and flow more than that. And I don't necessarily think it's fair, but I understand entirely the idea that Norwich are playing in spells, and that can be quite frustrating because you see them play very well and then you see their level drop, and I get that. But I thought today was probably more even-handed, but it was probably in thirds. I thought Norwich started the game very well. I thought they kind of thing went adrift. It was quite a long middle third, in fairness. It was probably about 15 minutes of the first half and 25 minutes of the second, where they were just a bit lost. I thought the energy levels from some players who were very good in the opening half an hour lost their way. Gabriel Sara particularly, so it's understandable when he went off. And then Norwich finished strongly and had chances. Again, Grant Hanley hit the post in with the last kick of the game from a corner, basically. And I did kind of agree with Mick Beale as well that Norwich had the time to take their corner at the end. And QPR were told that they took too long and therefore didn't get to take their corner in injury time in the first half. And I think that kind of summed up the referee, who was a little bit all over the place, was willing to let things go without really dealing with them. And then others were sort of getting, it was very windy, sorry, other things were getting let go and others were being given, and it was just all a bit inconsistent and a bit all over the place. It happens with some referees at this level. It's fine. That is the level they're operating at. I thought there were some good performances in the team today, and I thought the performance from the club, from the team in general, was good. I think it was really interesting because Norwich knew that QPR were going to protect the middle, so they wanted to go around the outsides. That was what QPR wanted Norwich to do as well. So it becomes a battle over what you're encouraging teams to do and whether they can figure out how to work around that. I'm well aware of how that level did drop from Norwich, and they got a little bit lost. But I'm reconciled to the fact that this is where Norwich's level is at for this season, and therefore that's what's going to happen when you're in a big game against a promotion rival or a top 6 rival in that essence. So I found it quite enthralling that both sides were kind of going for it. It was reasonably open. I didn't necessarily agree that. I don't know. I mean, Dean Smith felt that had Norwich got that goal, it might have opened up the game a little bit. I don't know. I thought QPR tried to stretch it at times. I just thought they would just got didn't maybe have belief actually at times. And yeah, I can also understand why that second half, certainly the first part of the second half, was a tad frustrating because Norwich seemed to go into their shells. They lost intensity and whether it was energy from the players or what, I'm not sure, but that level dropping was frustrating. And then they sort of huffed and puffed then towards the end. There was quite a bit of huffing and puffing. I mean, it was a goalless draw. There were no goals. That's never exciting, particularly. But I found myself really interested in the game. I was certainly miles better than like 68 minutes of the game on Saturday, and Norwich were leading for most of that. There were some big tackles. Angus Gunn made some brilliant saves, 2 from one attack, really tipping Chris Willock's shot just onto the post. And then the follow-up save from Lyndon Dykes' header, I thought was really top draw. I thought Deans was a bit harsh on him, actually, because he said the others were saves he'd expect him to make, and the others probably were, but those 2 I thought were exceptional. And Seny Dieng made some wonderful saves, especially from Teemu Pukki. There was one great tip over in the first half. There was another really good save in the second that I've sort of blanked out of my head, but just some really good goalkeeping. I thought he was outstanding. So well done him, because I think he's had a few hairy moments in recent seasons. So I thought he was outstanding. And yeah, it was just a really good competitive game, whilst I take on board some of the frustrations. As I said, Sarah was outstanding, I thought, in the first half, and then just lost his way. He looked like he was really properly competing, and then the level dropped. So that's a shame, but it was good to see that. I'm someone who wonders still if he's got what it takes to be able to compete and to deal with the tempo and the physicality of this level. And that first half performance was the first time I thought, yes, he can. Look, he's moving the ball quicker than he's being pressed, and technically he's doing some really good things, and he has got a really good knack of getting into good spaces on the end of things and making those well-timed runs. So I thought Aaron Ramsey was a driving force when he was able to get into good spaces. And I thought Dean Smith made the right substitutions at the right time as well. There were no fresh injury concerns after today, and Dimitri Yanulis and Josh Sargent will hopefully back for the trip to Rotherham on Saturday. So that's good news. And I agreed with Dean Smith's changes when he made them. And yeah, I think that was kind of an element for me. I was looking forward to this game, and I think it's been pretty up and down. And I wanted this to be an evening where it potentially could have just found a little bit of momentum. And that's probably why I would say second half I was pretty disappointed with the crowd, if I'm honest. You know me, call it as I see it and hear it. I watched the game at Burnley, and I saw a Burnley side playing some lovely football and clearly doing something that I've seen stylistically Norwich try to do and the previous head coach, and that emphasised some of the differences between them and Norwich and what Dean Smith is trying to do, which is a bit more direct. It's a bit more in transition. It's a bit higher energy and not quite as patient when it works well anyway. And so I will call out those style issues when I see them. I thought, Norwich were winning, but 68 minutes of Saturday was pretty awful, as I said at the time. And I can understand completely the atmosphere and the crowd waiting to go at that point. And I know that there was a lull in intensity in the second half, but there were phases where Norwich were getting hold of the ball and trying to build and progress the ball. And there were elements of the snake pit and the Barclay that were sort of jeering that because they just wanted them to do something quicker, I guess. And I guess they felt, and you guys felt, that it wasn't intense enough. And there were elements of that. But I don't know, this just felt like this wasn't the night to have a go at them. Like, I get the frustration with it being 0-0, and I get all that. But I just thought during the course of the game, this was one of the situations where it should have all been a bit together. It's like the situation with Kenny McLean coming on, and you just sense people just want to boo him when he comes on. I don't like that. You don't need to. Why are you booing him? Because he plays regularly. I don't. And so, yeah, I'm sorry. Some of you will probably want to shout at me for doing all this stuff, but I've stood in this ground since the late 80s. And I get all of the issues with the disconnect. I'm involved in them. I'm having to deal with that all myself, as I said last time out. But I also think there's some moments where it's not, it's about the bigger thing. And there's an element of coming to the game and wanting things to go well. Now, I just think it's a bit symptomatic. And I'm not blaming anyone. It's just how I feel and how I see it. And maybe people think I'm flip-flopping from one argument to the other, but I just thought tonight it didn't need that, and it kind of got it. And I think that sort of it's obviously a slow build-up. I know there's all these elements going on, and I know, such as with Bali Mumba scoring a brilliant goal for Plymouth, and I've seen bits and pieces of him playing. He defensively makes mistakes. He's not quite ready. And I guess people don't see that when he scores from 25 yards. It was a wonderful goal. So Dean Smith highlights that, as Daniel Farke would have highlighted it, and it becomes an issue. And it's just like there needs to be a dial down on where some of this is being and how it's being directed, because it's just not particularly rational. It's just an agenda. And I try and do my job without an agenda. I try and do it honestly and fairly and balanced and speaking to both sides. And I don't like agendas. And I just think that doesn't help. I mean, if it's there, I can't do anything about it. It's not up to me. I'm completely powerless. But I will kind of just try and have my say on it if I get the opportunity. So, yeah, I just thought this was a bit incumbent of that. And like I said, there was a period in the second half where they were trying to build up the play. And they got a run of corners. They actually led to a situation where they came quite close to scoring. I know they didn't. I know that's infinitely frustrating. I feel it. I get it. But I was just thinking, it's interesting because under the previous regime, and everyone, looks back with glossy, wonderful red mist, yellow tinted glasses at how wonderful everything was under Daniel Farke. That element of building the play up to create pressure and create moments from set pieces, they didn't do that under Daniel. They most certainly did. That would have been exactly how everyone would have bought into that plan. And I guess that almost simplifies the fact that Dean Smith is the focal point for a lot of people, but it's so much about people have a lack of connect to what the plan is, or they don't like the plan, or they don't feel they want the plan anymore, because that was sort of what they were trying to do in the second half. And it was, some people were desperate to jeer it. So, yeah. Well, I've probably lost loads of fans there, but I'm here to say how I feel it. I was a bit disappointed. But it is what it is. Norwich haven't won. They only won 1 in 7, 1 in 8, whatever it is. Maybe that is absolutely fair cause to be a bit miserable and annoyed. And I get that. You guys pay your money to come here and that's grand. So it is what it is. We have 2 games before the World Cup. And maybe that break will be good for everyone as well if Norwich are in the mix, and then they can find some rhythm. Maybe it will help some people at the club try and get beyond whatever this baggage and hangover is from last season. I don't know. Maybe it won't. But one thing we know is that Norwich won't be back here against QPR again this season because they've done that fixture. So there we go. Look, it's a point. I think that was a game Norwich definitely needed to not lose with the way it was going. They pushed hard. They should have won it on the balance of chances. I think they desperately need to win the next 2 games. Rotherham won't be easy, but they've just got to find a way, I think, in these 2 games, because I think it would just help everyone. And if you're going to the New York Stadium, make sure you enjoy it. I've got some writing to do and other stuff to get on with, and I'm going to be off for a few days, as you know. So I may well see you on Monday for the On the Ball podcast. Keep an eye out for that. Keep locked into the Athletic, obviously, for loads of writings, especially from all my wonderful colleagues. And in the meantime, let's remove that because it's goalless. In the meantime, what have I missed? Oh, it was a penalty shout, but I don't think the referee was ever going to give it. Because it just wasn't that sort of game where he's going to give it. There was a really big challenge early on Sam Byron, but I thought a yellow card was right for that. Where, although Elias Chair had hold of Todd Cantwell's arm briefly, as Todd was basically one-on-one or basically clean through, probably the foul just took long enough for there to be other players in and around him and then it not be given, although it was a foul. But Cher would have been in danger of a red card, I think, if it had been given. But there we are. Done. What a night at Carrow Road. Enjoy yourselves. I'll see you very soon. In the meantime, good night. Do whatever you do that you enjoy. Bye.